Yeah, and we welcome you into this space tonight. Series was to speak to the shifts and changes that are going on the earth right now, and to look at how we as the inhabitant changes and upgrade our thinking to flow with the changes. So in Chinese medicine, embodiments, and when there's big changes on the earth, it's uploading and embodying through us. So while she's transforming because of the way the humans have changed their behavior, then it's natural to expect we will transform. So we're talking a little bit about how we do that and how to align ourselves with that big movement that's going on around us. So perhaps, Brian, we could just start with our meditation, just bringing us in.
Yes. Cool. So I'm going to invite everyone to just find a comfortable space to sit. Allow yourself, if it's comfortable, to close your eyes. And I'm going to invite you to take a few deep exhales. Allow the sigh to go out completely. And with each exhale, allowing the past to stay in the past. Letting go of whatever happened before during the day. So whatever happened, it's already gone. So allow that to stay in the past. Whatever needs to happen after this session is still going to be there for you in the future once we finish. So as well, letting go of the future, living the future in the future. So letting go of the past, letting go of the future, allowing your breath to find a more natural rhythm. I invite you to give yourself the permission to be here, present, now, in this moment, in your body. And to go in and to notice going in and noticing how does your inner landscape look like at this moment. Just going in and noticing any feelings and sensations. Noticing without labeling, without judging. Just noticing what is happening inside. Setting the foundation for this session, from where we're going to speak and where we're going to talk from. From our bodies, from our hearts, with openness. And keeping in touch with your experience, I invite you to come back, open your eyes, and just coming back to the space, maintaining that openness. So I invite you to continue with this openness. And I welcome you to this second session, this second webinar that we are talking about transforming with the earth. And unless we've been living under a rock, we all know that the earth is going through a lot of big shifts. So, knowing that when the earth is going through a lot of these big shifts, we can too use these opportunities for that. So, I'm going to turn it over to Cameron so you can start sharing what we're going to talk about today.
Nice. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so as Brian says, unless you've been living under a rock, you're well aware that we've been in this really incredible social experiment the last few weeks. And the COVID-19 situation is insisting that we change the way we do things here on planet Earth in a very, very fast rate. So during times of massive change, there's an unstable energy. And it's natural for us to feel destabilized by a big change that we didn't see coming. So last week we were talking about how we're in this world in transition and that we're letting go of these old ways of living. And we're sort of in this dark tunnel at the moment, like we don't quite know where this new world is going to lead us. And if we're used to being able to plan and organize our lives and think about things logically and make decisions about what we do in the day and the week and the month, and we're used to functioning with timelines and things like that, this time can be very, very weird. And it's a time to be very present time oriented, like an eye on the future for sure, but to come into our bodies and be connected to what's happening here and in the day and start deeply listening to ourselves, because we are an embodiment of Mother Earth, and all our ancestors have lived here for centuries. They've evolved across the ages, evolved with the changes and cycles of change every decade, every century, every millennia. And they have grown through the transformations. And we'll do the same because we have that coded into our being. And there's a lot of letting go that's required. So last week we were talking about letting go. And there's a lot of opportunity. So, when things are changing really fast, there's a lot of creative power which gets released. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that in the media. We're seeing it in the stories of New Zealanders who are getting really creative with how they use their time. There's all these creative ideas coming in about new ways of doing business, new ways of connection, new ways of community. So we have the creative power to transform through this time. And to find that power, we need to be really present with ourselves. Because when we're present, we're inside our heart space, we're inside our knowing space. So our knowing is like the sun in the sky. It's taking a higher view of things. Whereas our thinking is more like a spotlight. It zeroes down and into the detail. So to stay high through this time, to stay up in the big picture realm for a while, it's going to be really helpful, because we can see that there's a higher purpose to all this. We can see that there's a bigger picture. And gradually across time, that bigger picture will start to be revealed. When change happens suddenly and we're not prepared for it, we can resist. We can hang on and think, oh, I don't know how to do this. But we do. We have it inside us. We know what we need to do. So how do we go through this change step by step? And start by, identifying what am I clear about right now. So we talked a lot about last week about how we need to kind of come into our own patch and really start to identify, what do I need to attend to in my own domain. So we've been sent home. We're living close to our loved ones or our families, either blood families or flat families or soul families or blended families, or we're on our own. Whatever our situation is, we're there right inside it right now. So to show up to whatever situation we're in and start to work with exactly what's there and create space around what's there and clear the space. It's going to help us meet and greet and welcome the change. Because there's an idea often when something's changing a lot and the future's uncertain that there'll be a magical future moment that we'll get to and everything will be made clear. And yet to arrive at that magical future moment, we track step by step. So tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about, intentional evolution and setting an intention for this time. Recognizing that at some level we've all created this and we will individually engage with this with how we think about this time. One of the reasons we wanted to do these webinars was to be able to provide some frameworks and ways of looking at this time that enable us to connect with the oneness of this energy and engage with the piece that's most alive for us. Because wherever we feel the most brought to life, that's our spirit, that's our knowing. So leaning into our knowing and to, begin with identifying, what needs to change in my life? What do I need to let go of? And that can be like physically, maybe there's some physical habits in my life that I need to let go of. I know for myself, I've been saying for ages I need to be fitter. And now that I'm not traveling my car a lot, I only have an extra hour a day. So I've been walking an hour a day. And I'm much fitter than I was 6 weeks ago. So it's like attending to the body, like what does your body want from this time? What do you need to let go of? And what can you do to support yourself more?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Brian.
No, I was just going to add to that, and this is something that as well we touched on last week, that is, Kamara was just saying this, attending to what you can. Like, we have the power over our bodies. Like, I have power over this room. There's stuff that I can do. Like, I can leave all of this to be completely dirty, or I can clean it. I can allow myself and my body to be moving or to be stuck. The same with my mind. I can stay in that place of openness, or I can just shut down and get into this close-mindedness space. So when we focus and we actually prioritize ourselves, and this is something that I remember one of my teachers once said, like, always start with yourself. Like, even though most of the ideas that I had until that point was being of service to others, like I need to give myself first to others, he was, no. You are number one. If you take care of yourself, then you can bring that to the rest. So we can attend to ourselves, we can attend to our bodies, we can notice where we are not aligned and where we are aligned. And as Cameron was saying, we can focus on the things that we don't have anymore, or we can focus on, I have now that extra hour to go for a walk. What are we paying attention to, and how am I putting myself into that space of, okay, taking care of me means I'm taking care of everyone? Because from, and like, this is perhaps more of a quantum physics standpoint, if I am okay, then that's what I'm sending into the quantum realm, or to all of the energy in the world. So the more that I take care of my energy, I'm actually taking care of everyone's energy. If we at this time understand that, in that sense, that we are all connected, and there's a lot of fear and a lot of doubt from a lot of people That's the energy that is out there in the field. So I need to make sure that I am okay, so that not only that energy doesn't have so much of an impact on me, but that also I can create and shift and help shift that energy. And
Mm.
having spaces like this that opens up and allows us to shift a little bit and to pay attention to bring this conversation into the main stage, then we are actually being part of that.
Mm. Yeah. And I echo what Brian said. One of my teachers says, the greatest thing we offer others is our own state. And I've noticed in the last few days, I've had a lot of clients ringing me this week. So I've been putting out this moon videos, new moon and full moon each month. And I did a mail out last weekend, and a lot of people sent me messages. Oh, thanks very much. That was really great. Great to hear from you. Good to see you, blah, blah, blah. And then a few people rang me and, was really expressing high distress and how much they're struggling with this time. And so it's easy to get into that collective web of uncertainty. As Brian's talking about, the fear, the worry about the future. Where's all this going to take us? It's easy to plug into that because there's lots of that out there. And there's lots of it on the media. There's lots of questioning. There's lots of anxiety. So anxiety is always there when we're concerned about the future. We're worried about the past, but we're not actually anxious if we're here and now with ourselves. So as we come into our now time space more and more, and know how to cultivate that and be with that, and be with whatever you meet in that space, right? So this time of massive change, we're going to really experience that very differently, every single one of us. When we're doing the centering meditation at the beginning of the session tonight, I noticed that my body's tired today. Like I just haven't felt like doing the same amount of stuff, so I haven't been. And I noticed when we're doing that meditation, like there's an awareness part of me that's just aware that everything's okay. And then there's my body part of me that's actually like, whew, I'm a little tired. So to be able to attend to the different parts of ourselves at this time, to be able to, give our body what it feels like a little bit, to be able to give ourselves space to have some unreasonable emotions here and there, and to be able to just watch that all going on is the path of the heart. So the heart's awareness is there in the background, just watching whatever we do. And to stay heart-centered right now is enabling us to just rise above and stay with our direct experience rather than our thoughts about this uncertain future or what everybody else is opinionating about. Because as Brian says, if we are centered inside ourselves, if we are balanced and connected, even if we're feeling a little tired, it doesn't matter. However we're feeling, if we're just right there inside our own experience, we'll be putting a more settled energy out into the planet. And the world needs that right now. Because there's lots of scary stories in the media. There's lots of identification with the world of COVID-19. And yet, for most of us sitting in our lounge tonight or wherever we're sitting, we don't have COVID-19. Like we're actually in our lives, we're breathing, we're, probably eating most of the same food that we ate before a few weeks ago. So we've got choices about how we engage with this time. And we're talking about cultivating our inner world and strengthening our inner world, because our inner world is our internal point of reference, is how we look out on the world. So if we're over-identified with the world of COVID-19 and all the upheaval, and seeing that as the thing that's going to direct our life, then we are not connected to the fact that we have the power to influence our life and our direction. And we do that every day, step by step.
Yeah. And one of the things, and there's a lot of us, we are all in a different place. We're all in different stages in our life. We're all having, as Cameron was saying, different experiences. And one of the things that, for me, has helped me immensely, not only through this time, but through the last 15 years, has been learning more and more and more about my awareness of my body and my feelings. So the more that I learned about how does this work and how am I responding to life as life is happening, then now I can maintain myself in that space regardless of the circumstances outside. And one of the things that I wanted to do now is just a very short exercise, um, and that is building up on the centering that we did at the beginning, just allowing ourselves to be focused in our bodies. And if you need to, just close your eyes if that helps you to connect. And I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness to your throat, neck, and shoulders area. Just notice what is happening in that area. So this area is where most of us hold all of our stress. So just notice, how does that feel? And bring some movement into your shoulders. So start making some circles with your shoulders. So making sure that we are making them quite big. So when I'm going up really high, when I'm going back really to the back. So making sure that the circles are as big as possible. Making sure that we're breathing in and out. If you haven't yet, switch direction. Making sure the entire time you're breathing in and out. If possible, bringing your breath as deep down into your abdominal area as possible. Bringing this movement to an end. Try to stay still and to notice what is happening around your throat, neck, and shoulders area. Perhaps there's some feelings, or perhaps not much. So if we have a lot of stress in this area, we're going to want to move. So everybody that did this with their hands that moved, that means you have a lot of stress and that is uncomfortable for you. If we can stay with that, then we are actually feeling the experience. So regardless of if you already moved or not, I'm going to invite you to take a few circles with your hands, making sure that we're going slow enough so that we're not hurting ourselves. And as we make the circles, we might notice that perhaps there's some parts that is a little bit tight. And if you find some tightness, just move back and forth through that space and then continue with the circle. And if you haven't yet, switch direction. Making sure that you're breathing in and out. And the next time that your chin is down, just finish the movement there and come back to center. Take a moment just to notice what is happening around your throat, neck, and shoulders area. So this doesn't have to happen to everyone, but ideally there's a little bit of more flow there. we can actually experience some more feelings in that area. When we bring our attention to this area, we can notice perhaps how much stress we are carrying. And until we do this, we won't notice. So feel free to slowly come back all the time, maintaining your awareness. So, what we tend to do usually is that as soon as we stop a meditation or a yoga practice or a practice that connects us, we immediately move on to the next and we basically forget what happened. We just disconnect from that. So, as much as possible, moving on with that awareness. And one of the things that happens with a lot of people when I'm working with them is that a lot of people don't realize the level of stress they're living in because that's their normal. Their normal is all of this tightness here, or all of these thoughts going on here, or whatever that is. That's their normal. And getting to that place of slowing down and connecting more to our bodies gives us a much better sense of where we are and how can I respond to life. If I don't even know where I am, how can I respond to life? So the more that I connect with that, the more that I can actually set, as Cameron was saying earlier, the intentions for how I want to continue with my life.
Yeah, and I think as we transition through this time, if we can become more present with ourselves, it is the spiritual aim of many traditions is to be present. And it sounds like an incredibly simple thing to do, and yet how many people are truly present as they go about their day? So one of the gifts of this time, with this slowdown of external activity, like we're at home, we're with ourselves, the distractions of that outer world have shut down. So we do get to connect with what's actually there for us. So if we were stressed before this started out, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to unpack some of that stress, to let some of that go, and to ask ourselves the questions like, what do I need to let go of from that old life? Because when we're on retreat, we get to take a good close look at who we are, what we've created for ourselves in our lives, what relationships we've created, what community we've created, what lifestyle we've created, because we're all creating it ourselves. And one of the gifts of this time, which is a massive transition, is that we're at this threshold, we're going through this change. So when we're going through massive change, we're in a threshold, we're passing from one reality and into a new one that's currently unknown. So we're traveling through this tunnel. It's a bit like being in the dark. And while we're in that dark space, we can, things that are not comfortable for us will pop up. So when we take a good look and go down and deep inside ourselves, things that make us uncomfortable, we'll be more aware of them right now. So we can stop when we realize we're tuning into something that's not comfortable for us. We just stop, pull ourselves into present time awareness and go, well, what is it about that I'm not so comfortable about? And what would I like to let go of? Because if I let go of the things that aren't serving me anymore, the habits, the attachments to that old life, and if I focus in on what I'm really clear about is important to me, then from that place, I can take my next step. Because step by step is the way through big transitions. There's no fast track for this time. And sometimes when change comes upon us fast, we want a quick, fast exit out of that. And yet to track specifically and slowly and gently through this time is really wise.
Mm.
because we are being reset. And the more deeply we go into the reset, the more powerful it will be for us out the other side of this big change.
Yeah. And there's something in terms of transitional periods that is always really interesting to understand. And um, like for me, every time that I talk about the space in between and the transitions from what was to what is coming, we're in this space in between, in this limbo. And and when we are in that space, we need to understand how do we engage with that space that is uncertain, that space that is unknown, because it's not that, but it's not yet something else. So how am I being with that not knowing? How am I being with that allowing, that space in between? And what am I doing to be during that period and to intentionally create what is coming on the other side? And as Cameron was saying, now we know what was before. So what of what was before do we want to let go? What is coming next is not here yet. So even though we can start to plan and to have intentions on that, how are we being during this period in between? And that is not only for this period now, it's for every other period. And we don't know how a lot of things are happening. What we do know, again, is what we can control. I can control my body. I can control my breath. I can control how am I responding to the situations. So if I am allowing myself the time to be with this space that it's a little bit unstable, it's a little bit wobbly, like we don't know exactly what is happening. We don't know whether the information that is out there is real or not. We don't know if to listen to that or to that or to that. We don't know a lot of different things. We don't know how the world will look afterwards. We don't know if we're going to be able to travel around the world in 1 month, in 5 months, in 1 year. How can we be with that space in between? And for me, the answer is understanding how am I being with every transition in my life, every cycle that starts and finishes, and there's that space in between. Every time that I go through a change in my life, I have that space. Sometimes it's a small one, sometimes a big one. This is a big one for everyone. But the way that I respond to this one is the same as I respond to the small ones. Is my response and my way of experiencing it that is the important aspect here.
And to slow down, like when we're going through a big change, we can want to hurry to get there. And yet some of the gifts of this time, they're not yet visible.
Yeah.
Right? So think about the idea that there's thousands and millions of people all around the world who are coming up with new ideas for all sorts of things. And so there's going to be all these new possibilities that come into existence that didn't exist 6 weeks ago, 3 months ago. And as we transition through this time step by step and stay really present and awake to what's calling us, right? So there's some things that we know we're needing to leave behind, but we also know there's some things we would really love to have happen in our lives. And at this time, to be opening up, to realize, actually, this is the universe behind this big change. And I'm the hands and feet of the universe. I'm an opening for the universe to manifest through. So as I pay attention to what has heart and meaning for me, as I really listen to what's going on around me, and I listen to my deep knowing, which is down there in my bones, in my heart. So I lean into my deeper knowing. I will know how to track through this time, and I will create openings because I'm open.
Yeah.
And so when we go through wobbly times, it's really useful to just ask ourselves, what are my inner resources? What is natural to me? So it might be that you're naturally a clear person, or you're naturally a strong person, or you're naturally a courageous person, or you're naturally a gentle person, or a listening person. Like, what are your natural resources, the ways of being that are in your inner life that are just so natural to you, you can't help but be that way? And really engage those natural resources right now. So they're internal resources. And then there's external resources. So there are external resources that we use to help us connect with ourselves, help us stay connected to ourselves and our life as an interactive energy experience. So those things, like for me, it's chanting. I do chanting every morning. I spend time in nature. I have one or two friends that I stay connected with through this time, fiery friends, because I'm enjoying their fire and the fun of it. So what are your external resources? What are the things outside of you that help you to engage your power and help you to feel connected and grounded, right? We need to be more grounded than usual as we go through this time because lots of people are wobbly. The situation's wobbly. So if we don't have a stronger center than what's going on in the external world, we can start to vibrate with that wobbly external world and then be, whoa, I don't know what's happening here. And nobody does in terms of, far away, big picture. But we do know what's happening inside our own body if we stay grounded. We stay in this moment, we stay in this day, we slow it all down, we give ourselves the space because that's the invitation of this time. We've been given the space to go home.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
So we can tune into that quieter, slower space. Quieter. Or we can get into we're busy worried. It's the choice.
And as well, it's the time for healing. So just like the earth is having that time for deep healing, like we've been seeing as a lot of industries shut down, that suddenly the pollution in the air, in the rivers, in the oceans started to clear up. People being able to see in India the Himalayas for the first time in over 30 years. Some rivers that were so polluted now are clear. The animals are coming back to the cities. How are we allowing ourselves to use this time as well for our own process of healing? So Cameron was just saying grounding. Grounding is super important for these times when there's a lot of change happening. What we need is to have that anchor, is to be able to be centered in our bodies. And some of us will know how to do this naturally, and some of us don't. So how are we able to do that? How are we able to maintain ourselves grounded through these times? And for me, it's doing these practices that allow my awareness to be completely in my body. So the more and more that I practice and I maintain my awareness, then I'm able to do that. So I'm going to invite everyone to join me if you want for a short movement that really helps me maintain that groundedness. And for this, hopefully you're able to see me. Let me just see if I need to move the camera a little bit. Okay, so you can almost see me completely here.
Yeah, we can see it.
That for me really helps me doing this is making sure that if I'm standing, I am standing tall but my feet are completely on the ground, and the energy from my feet is going down to the earth. So maintaining all the time that going down, as if I have roots from the bottom of my feet going down to the earth. And standing tall, my knees are relaxed, so that my legs are not completely like straight, they're slightly relaxed. So I'm able to stay here. And then I bring my arms all the way up. So you might not see my arms here because of the camera. I'm completely in the wall, so I cannot go any further back. So reaching up and at the same time reaching back. I'm going to invite you to open the chest. Looking a little bit up, opening the chest, opening the armpits. Breathing deeply into your belly. Make sure that your knees are slightly bent and the energy keeps on being connected to the earth. And as well from the fingertips, you are reaching up. And then coming through center, we're going to go all the way forward and down. So going all the way forward and down until our head is completely hanging, our arms are completely hanging, the knees are slightly bent. And when we are all the way down, taking a few deep exhales. Feeling the energy of the earth underneath your feet. Feeling the arms hanging, the head hanging. Feeling the energy moving from the earth through your legs and your body. Very slowly rolling up. And as you're standing, once you reach all the way to standing, take a moment just to feel. Feel your energy going down, really anchoring in the earth. Feeling as your legs are going down, your knees are slightly bent, allowing the breath to go down as deep down as possible. When we have this, we can do whatever we want and engage in the world because we have our anchor, we are grounded. So I invite you, if you were standing, to come back to sitting. Continue being grounded because you don't have to lose that. When I am going about my day, I always maintain my awareness on my feet, in the lower part of my body, always there. I'm always anchored in my feet. and then in other parts, but making sure that we have that, and we're engaging with the energy of the earth, and there is a relationship there that is happening. I'm sending my energy down, she's sending her energy up. We are just there together, just maintaining that connection with the earth so I can be grounded in myself and with the earth. Your microphone, Cameron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, archetypically, Earth is our mama. She's our mother. So, security and feeling stable, that all belongs to Earth energy. So, Earth energy in Chinese medicine relates to digestion, relates to diet, relates to the muscles, relates to the flesh, relates to the feeling of strength in the body. So, right now, more importantly than at other times, we need to feel strong in our body because the earth is, and all the people and the inhabitants of the earth are undergoing some wobbly times. So, that worry energy can download into the earth. So, we need to feel physically stronger. We need to do practices like we just did then that are more grounding. To go walking on the earth, one of the most powerful ways of strengthening our relationship to Mama Earth is to walk every day.
Mhm.
So that's a really powerful way of strengthening the etheric field of the body, the energy field of the body, and attuning ourselves with the energy field of the earth. It will help you sleep. It will help you feel more vital. It will help your digestion, right? So the stomach meridian, the energy pathway of the stomach, it goes from the eye, goes right up to the side of the head, goes down across the face, down the chest, down the midline of the body, right down the outside of the legs, down to the second toe. So it goes from literally from top to toe. So when we eat, we need to have length through the body in order for digestive power to be at its strongest. And just in the same way that the earth transforms, every day we put seeds into the ground, and the ground transforms those seeds and turns them into fruit and flowers, and we eat that, and then our bodies transform and turn that into flesh. So the earth is transforming, and so are we. And to support our own transformations, we need to nourish ourselves really well. So we need to look at those inner and outer resources. Like what inner resources do we have that help us feel more secure? When we practice our own special qualities and bring those out into our connections with ourselves and each other, we'll feel more secure. When we nourish ourselves well, we'll feel more secure and more strong in our body. We have regular exercise and strengthen the muscles and the flesh, which is the tissue of the earth energy in our bodies. They will feel more stable because during an unstable time, we can wobble around. So we need to have more grounding energy as we transition through this time. It's going to be wobbly for a while. So building our own earth energy and knowing how to get grounded every day, it's going to support us to feel more steady as we go through this time. And one of the things we can do in terms of, attitudinally is just open up to the possibilities of this time and welcome this time as a change that needed to happen, and open yourself to opportunities. You can just say that to, I'm open to the universe organizing around my success right now and attracting new possibilities for myself. So put out into the world through your own intention, through your conscious intent, what do you want to attract through this time? I want to attract new opportunities and new possibilities for a lifestyle that supports me to flourish. And to be putting those thoughts out, sending those thoughts out, sending out the idea that 2020 is my best year ever. I'm transforming with the earth. So we're putting out these ideas of how we want to be with this time, how we want to engage with the energy of this time, because it's a transformational time. And there's a natural transformational energy at work there, and we can jump on that. It's like surfing. There's a big wave of change happening in the world. And we can be on that wave rather than have that wave pounding on us like we have no control. Because how we are on our inner world, how we bring our inner world out to engage with the outer world is where the point of meeting happens, and that's where the transformation occurs. How do we meet the energy of change? So welcoming this time is one simple way, just to be open to 2020 is my best year ever. I'm transforming with the earth. New opportunities and possibilities are opening up for me.
Yeah, and something really important for me from what Cameron's just mentioning is I don't need to know exactly how does that look like. I don't need to be stuck with an idea because this was perhaps part of the problem of where we are now. We all thought this is the way that it is, and suddenly all of this happens, and it's like, oh, wait, like now, if I was doing that type of work and now that's not needed anymore, then I don't have work. So we still don't know how things are going to look next year, in 5 years. We don't know yet how the world is going to look, but we can be open. We can be open to using this opportunity, staying connected and grounded to create that, but not being completely stuck with how does that look like or how am I going to get there. Being open, as Cameron was saying, to the possibility of using this year as the best year in your life, this time as the best time in your life, opening to whatever it is that is coming, that is going to be there for you, to support you, to live the life that you want, but not being completely married with a specific idea.
Yeah, and we want to, encourage conversation around this because there's so much creativity that comes from chaos. There's so much creative energy that comes from, an old structure dying. And I was living in Christchurch when the earthquakes happened down there nearly 10 years ago now. And people knew what to do. Instinctively, people knew how to respond to that time. We know what we need to do for ourselves too, only if we're busy projecting ahead in our heads and thinking about where we're going to end up, we're not actually in our creative consciousness, which is here and now in our heart energy, being able to see this from on high and engaging with the possibilities that are available today, like opening up to that. So it'd be really nice to hear from anybody who wants to share, like, what has rung true for you tonight, or what is it that you're hearing that maybe is confirming or affirming a thought you've had, or maybe there's something we've said that's inspired you to think of something else that you'd like to share. Because part of what we believe in is that, we have this instinctive wisdom inside us. And when we, learn some of the touchstones of how to access this instinctive knowing, we discover, oh yeah, I've got ideas about that. I've always known that. That feels true for me. And then we start to learn about this stuff. And as we learn, we feel more connected to ourselves. When we're more connected with ourselves, we can, share with other people more genuinely. And in that sharing, we heal. We become more whole when we share what we know. Because we're all in this together. We're all in this massive transformation. A global family is going through this massive change, and we can all learn from each other. So we'd really like to hear from, anybody who would like to share, what are you seeing about this time, or what is it that you're hearing from tonight, that rings true for you? Or is there something else you'd like to bring into this circle?
Yeah, and feel free, if you do want to share, to open your microphone and or your video so we can perhaps see you. And if you feel more comfortable, if not, just share on the chat, writing. So if anybody feels comfortable, like just let us know.
Mm.
Hi, Cameron. It's Wendy.
Kia ora, Wendy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I just listened. I saw your email recently, and I just didn't get back to it till actually this afternoon, and only a couple of hours before this. So,
Perfect timing.
yes, wasn't it? And yeah, I just kind of resonated with it. I've continued to work during the lockdown time, but I have been feeling actually quite angry with the changes.
Yeah.
So not, absolutely no fear, funnily enough, at all. Just getting too caught up on all that's going on, and I think I feel really probably the most chilled I felt in a month right now. So,
great! That's nice to hear.
so well done, Brian, as well. Thank you.
It's all you. I always tell everyone that does any of this is that even though Cameron and I are here and we are facilitating the space, your experience is because of you.
Yeah.
And it's good that you gave yourself the time and that you participated, because if you don't participate in life, then you don't get the benefits of it. If you participate, then you do get the benefits.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've been putting my energies towards other people, but as you said before, we need to again put more time to ourselves sometimes first. And that's what I've sort of not been doing. I've had intentions to all the time, but just not getting there. And then I've just today had quite a flat day, and just remembered about your email that I've been meaning to get back to for a week, or whenever you sent it.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yes, I must join you this evening, and so it's been great. Yeah. So I will, and in fact, since hearing it, I went out and stood on the grass where it had been raining, and just started that grounding process even after your initial talk.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a good reminder. So thank you very much to both of you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome, and good for you for just being able to reset so quickly, because that is the thing, we can, and I think when we work in healing professions, it's easy to be to think that we're serving others is the number one thing, but I think through this time, we're all impacted, and we must balance the self-care.
Yes. Yeah,
it's going to be a long haul. To be able to just come back to self-nourishment and reciprocity, like to give and receive.
Yes.
Very important. Good for you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will yes, I'll practice what you've just shown me today.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there's also another thing that is very interesting about these times, that there has been for a lot of people, it's a much more intense time, and there's not that allowing time and that slowing down. Like people that are essential workers, like it has been even more intense and perhaps even more stressful, which means that it's even more important to take care of yourself. But that's not the paradigm that we're used to. As you say, like we're used to that paradigm of giving, giving, giving. And one of the things that, and it took me the experience of this, is like to notice is there needs to be a balance of the giving and the receiving. If there's no balance, then we are not going to be balanced. We can't just give, 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 give. We need that receiving as well.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And it's so simple, right? Like the reset stuff that we need to do for ourselves. It's incredibly simple. Everything we're talking about tonight is incredibly simple.
Mm.
And it's like, if you're thirsty, drink water. So the problems that we are facing, they will be resolved step by step. That's a simple approach to it. And yet things seem very complex and overwhelming. People can get over-identified with the complexity and the overwhelm and lose connection with actually it's just going to happen day by day, and to stay grounded and to eat breakfast and get plenty of sleep. All that basic stuff will enable us to ride the waves of change.
Yes.
It's easy to forget that basic stuff when it seems like it's an overwhelming change. And if we watch a lot of TV and news and stuff like that, it can seem like, And it's good to be aware of, the other situations that are going on, and to be, obviously, we feel compassion and empathy for them. And at the same time, we need to stay connected to our own reality and keep looking after our own backyard, because our stability puts calming energy into the world.
Yes.
It's a medicine all by itself.
Mm.
And one other thing I'd like to say to you all is that one of the things we do in the retreats that I lead is that when we are going through transitions, we can put a symbol on our doorway. So the doorway into our house, you can put some piece of art or a symbol or a picture or a flower or a plant or something. So near the doorway where you come in and out of your home. And that symbolizes you're in transition. You're in a change movement. So seeing that thing at the door as you come in and out of your space will remind you you're in a new life. You're changing your life. So it's a very powerful reminder of transitional energy. And in Māori culture, it's traditional when you come onto the marae that you meet at the gate around the meeting house, around the outer fence, and there's the karanga. So you're called onto the marae. And so that's an acknowledgement that when you come from the outside world and into your inner world, when you pass through that gateway, you're bringing all the energy from the outside world into your space, and you're transiting from the outside world to the inner world. So to have some symbol at the gateway of our homes right now, to acknowledge we're in this big transitional time, and to be in remembrance of that as we come from the outer world to the inner world, there's going to be a change. So honoring our time, honoring this time as a transitional time, as a wobbly time, and leaning into those inner and outer resources to help nourish us is really, really important. Because Earth is our mama and she nourishes us. So when there's change going on in the earth, we need to nourish ourselves to keep pace with her change. And that's what this talks about, this conversation, healing with the earth. As we heal with her and we follow her ways, we will become more aligned with that bigger energy that's changing and that's weaving through all of us as individuals. A little symbol on your door. You can put it just above the door. So this is very common in China in the New Year. You go to Chinese people's homes in the New Year and they have these big red banners down either side of the door with symbols of good fortune and good luck and prosperity and all of that. And so it's inviting that energy into the home. So this is an observance which is honoured by many traditional cultures to do something at the doorway, because that represents the transition zone, and that's what we're talking about tonight. We're in this transition zone. We're leaving some old world behind. We're wanting to sort of consciously choose how we're evolving ourselves going forward by opening to the possibilities and the opportunities, and by connecting with our inner and outer resources, identifying what they are, and using those to keep us stable as we travel through this time of not knowing.
Yes. Does anybody else want to share or ask anything? Let's give it a moment. Okay. I think that we might be able to bring this towards a close. Is there anything else, Cameron, that you would like to share for this
Yes,
session?
so, we're having a celebration on Thursday night. We're joining with the Anahata Retreat Centre in Golden Bay, which is the top of the South Island, and we're celebrating the full moon of on Thursday 7th. So it's a 6:30 to 8:30 time of gathering, and we'll be doing some chanting, some meditation, some talks like these, some little bit of yoga, and some qigong. So it's a 2-hour thing, and we're joining with the Anahata Retreat Centre. So you can find out about that on our website, Brian. You being it?
Yeah, our website or on Facebook. And yeah, it's called Light Up, just in case that you find it, and that it's the full moon Wesak celebration, or Vesak, depending on how you want to pronounce it, which is a very important energy that is happening during this full moon, because it's an energy that is in relation with Buddha and his different parts of his life that were related to this moon, so that energy starts to be available during this full moon. So it's a very powerful night, and hopefully we'll be able to get a nice gathering happening to even create and potentiate more that energy. So, and to be able to bring that light into the world, which is the idea.
And you know, this is an intense time, and you know, we're talking about all these things as though it's easy. And I would say to you, you know, like, it's okay if you're struggling. Like, this is a very intense time. It's a pressure cooker time. It's a squeeze time. It's a, you know, everything's in our face time. And there will be days when we feel like, oh my God, you know, and that's part of the territory. And so that's why we're offering these things. It's like, if you just strip it down and come back to some basic self-nourishment practices, because just showing up to these things will help you feel better.
Yes.
And if you don't have the energy, it's okay, just come. You know, Brian and I have got quite a lot of energy for this, because we both feel like it's it's an opportunity for changes that needed to happen. And so we are really inspired to be, you know, offering opportunities for connection and encouraging people to use this time for self-healing, because there is a lot of healing going on in the planet. You know, as Mother Nature is resetting herself, we have the opportunity to do the same. And it's not easy to do on your own, you know, so it's why we have healers, it's why we have teachers, why we have spiritual guides, and that's why we do this work. You know, this is our work.
And community that is super important.
Yeah.
Like being able to, as Cameron was just saying, just by being there, sitting down, you're planting the seeds for the transformation that needs to happen. If we don't show up, then we won't start that transformation. So showing up in your life to that which you feel drawn to and what resonates, to be able to take care of ourselves, and to be able to, in community and in collaboration with others, co-create the world that we want to after all of this.
And from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fertile ground. It's change that needed to happen, and you know, there's always going to be some struggle when you're going through a big change. That's to be expected. But the point of struggle is you get clear. You know, we get clear when we struggle.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So thank you for coming.
yeah. Thanks everyone for being there. I'm going to upload this just in case that you want to watch it again, or if you want to be able to share it with other people. Thanks, Bryn, for your message as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as Cameron was just saying, like for some people, like it's okay to be where we are. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
No, it's our joy. Like we're all in this together, and we're so fortunate that here in New Zealand we have this incredibly powerful spiritual leader who's helping us stay connected to what's important. You know, it's health over wealth, and we are all in this together. We are all connected, and you know, there's magic afoot when we just show up. That's all we have to do. Yeah. Blessings on you all.
See you next time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, lovely. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Yeah, so Thursday, 6:30, if you want to join us.
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Yeah, we'll be chanting and doing a little bit more yoga, and Swami Karuna will be doing a talk on compassion, and we'll be doing a bit of stuff. So it'll be a nice night, and you know, it's the night of the Buddha is the night of light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those thousands of people from all over India travel to the Vesak Valley this time of year to receive the Buddha's light. So the Buddha was enlightened, born and died around this moon. So it's his moon. And it's a powerful time, and it's an intense energy. So it's good to do something uplifting with it. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Good night.
Beautiful. Good night.
Bye, Wendy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.